We're on.
Lovely. Hello, everybody. I know it's a bit different. We're doing it in this way, but this is the best way for us both to communicate with you today. I'd like to introduce a lovely lady, Adrianne Gerard, who I met really in the first lockdown, and I'll just give you a tiny bit of a background about that. As we know, when the first lockdown hit, as wellness professionals, we were absolutely bombarded with lots and lots of people selling products, wanting us to join teams and things like that. And that was fine. I, let them all go. But this one, Adrian's message stuck out to me. And we had a Zoom. We had a couple of messages beforehand and then a Zoom. And we really connected. And it was absolutely lovely. And we've been talking since and sending messages, and I did join her network marketing group as well. As a lot of you know, I already do doTERRA, and I absolutely love doTERRA, which was why I was not looking for anything else. But this just was shouting out to me, and I have had to let fate take its hands. Sometimes we have to see what the universe has got in store for us. And that's how this went. I had a choice of taking Adrianne upon this and getting some products and trying them. And that's what I chose to do. So we've got some exciting things to tell you about today, but we'll ask a bit more about Adrianne's journey. So if you can just let us know a little bit how you came into the wellness field, Adrianne, and what's your background, please?
Sure. Thank you, Sharon. Actually, I was kind of a pioneer. My wellness journey began 35 years ago. And 35 years ago, it wasn't a really popular topic like it's become today, especially in the pandemic age that we are in. And I came down with 3 autoimmune conditions, psoriasis, psoriatic arthritis, and Crohn's. And it's not uncommon for autoimmune diseases to come in clusters, as you probably know.
Absolutely.
And I'm also, by classical education, a registered nurse. So I was very well versed in traditional medicine and was very disappointed in what the options were for me to take care of myself beyond some really toxic medications that I felt or to overkill for where I was, and steroids, which we know make our bones like Swiss cheese. And I want to say, I'm not opposed to any of those for really severe cases, at least to dial them back. But I was at the beginning and I thought, there's got to be something better. And we didn't have the internet yet either. So this was libraries. And I studied, and a lot of it was in the Eastern medicine, was where I could find it, and different kinds of, in the oils and alternative healers, which they all thought in those days that we were a little crazy, right? But yep. I think we're coming into our own now. So I found some alternative physicians and some supplements, and I started dabbling myself and came with solutions that were just good enough, that I didn't need to resort to chemicals. Later on in life, I went to work for Big Pharma.
Wow, that's a change.
And I thought, I went in with a big grandiose idea. I was going to save the world. But turns out in Western world, in the United States, across the pond in the UK, we have the best trauma medicines and for accidents, cardiac arrest in the UK and here. There's no better place to be if you are unfortunate enough to have that happen to you. But in the chronic stage, which is where most diseases fall, hypertension, diabetes, autoimmune, and on and on and on, cancer even, we have toxic chemicals, and there's nothing in the middle. And there's a dark side to pharma. It is a business. And I didn't understand at the time that if it's a naturally occurring compound, like an oil, an herb, or whatever we're using, it can't be patented. So if you cannot patent it, you can't make money on it, not the amount of money that Big Pharma is interested in. So there's very little research done in that area. So it's up to people like us to find our way. So I was blessed with this triad of autoimmune diseases. I've been on a 35-year quest where last year I finally found a solution which didn't involve 30 bottles of things for me to use.
And that's so lovely, isn't it? When we find that solution, we've all been on a journey here. Us who think outside of the box in some ways, we've tried things and it's disappointing when they don't work, but we hold our hands up and try something else. It is a bit of a journey, isn't it? So it's brilliant that we've found something that really has made such a difference. So how do you see this new holistic side going for you in 2021?
Well, I'm very excited about 2021. And first of all, I want to say I'm very excited to be working with you. Me
too.
So when I met Sharon, for those of you who don't know, our company was, and I am building a team in the UK, and I was looking for like-minded healers. And it sounds simple, but it's not. And as you all know, I'm sure your listeners and viewers know about synergy and energy and all of that. So if the fit isn't right, it's not going to work. So we found each other, and I found a few other individuals like us, and we're bringing the mission forward. I don't know how much you want me to talk, where do you want me to go with this?
Well, I think the lovely thing is you're absolutely right. We connected and I was very honest with you, wasn't I? And I was like, I will not do anything until I try it myself. And so I had other people's testimonials. They don't matter to me. I have to try it and believe it for myself. So you've found it. You were telling me how amazing it was. And that was great. And I was like, okay, that's a little tick in the box here. But the first product I needed to try had to make an impact on me. And I had very low hopes. People that know me know that I go in a little bit pessimistic. So I had really this is just going to be another natural health solution and nothing's going to change. But I did feel a little bit better. I felt a little lifted even through the darkest times of the lockdown. And don't forget, we met each other in those very trying times for your mental health.
Correct.
But then also, we've shared this before, there was a physical shift, an absolutely amazing shift in my own body. I had a breast cancer scare it has to be 7 years ago. I do, because I work with the energies, I do try to, if everything's fine, let that go and move on and not dwell on it, because that's no good for anybody. So we work in that way. So when I'm a bit vague about it, that's why I've let it go. But the one thing I couldn't let go was the actual cyst that was the problem, because it was still there in my breast. I had it all checked out, everything was fine, it was purely just a cyst. And the ladies at Airedale, I know them quite well, and I would say to them every now and then, every few years, is it still okay? And they were like, yeah, absolutely, it's not going to turn into anything, it's just the way it is. And the other option was surgery, and I'm not, it's fine, I can cope with it. But as we check our breasts over a certain age, and that's what we should do, it disappeared. And then I'd read up, and I was kind of thinking, this is really strange. The only thing that's different is this product, right? Nothing else has changed. I was still taking my oils, still taking my supplements, and all of those other things were exactly the same. But then I read into it a little bit more, and it is very good for cysts and cystic acne and those kind of really deep-rooted inflammations, let's call them. So I was just like, okay, there's something in this, and I was so pleased. And I had posted on the group, but still, I kind of needed a little bit more. Because of course that was my journey, my story. It was quite unique, and I know a couple of people who could benefit, of course, with the general wellness and everything else, and for the skin conditions too. But when they launched the next product, that was when it totally changed. And you were the first one to introduce me to it. Do you want to say a little bit about this one, Adrianne?
Yes, but before we get to that one, I want to, for those who haven't heard your story about your cyst, how long did you coexist with that cyst?
Oh, it was at least 7 years. It was at least, and I used some of my oils. I wasn't like stressing about it. After 7 years, it was just like there. It was accepted. But, in the psychosomatic, it always put me off checking my breast because I would feel it. It would remind me. It was just one of those things. But I knew that I didn't want surgery, so I kind of accepted it. Yeah.
So that was the first story that excited me with you. But I just wanted, before we move to number 2, this is the one that we're talking about, and it's called longevity, right? I will talk more about it later if you like, or you can.
I'd love to.
But that product is tremendous foundational. And just briefly, I want to say how it works on the physical level. I do believe it works on the energetic level as well, but you're the expert there. But what we're finding is that our livers, which are our filter of our body, for those of you who know a lot about cars or automobiles, the filter in your car, have you ever taken a look at that when we waited too long to change it?
Not nice.
Yeah, it's kind of gunky looking and all. Well, that's kind of our liver, and our liver is very, very important because it does a similar effect in our body. But even if we live a perfect lifestyle, which is difficult, we're in a very toxic environment. We have toxins in the water, in the food, in the air, and viruses, bacteria, invisible things we don't even see, but our liver sees it and has to take care of it. And it gets overburdened, and then it's like you can't go to the auto body shop and get a new one. You have to give it some help. And so that's what we did with you, Sharon. We gave your liver some help just to process what's ever going on. And also our liver's so smart. Our liver makes an antioxidant. It's called the mother of all antioxidants. It's called glutathione. And our body actually makes it. That's so awesome. That's the great news. The tough news is that because we're in modern society, our liver is overburdened. We don't make enough. So longevity helps with that. And that's enough to say about that, do you think?
I think that's wonderful. And obviously, we've put this live together because we wanted to give other people the opportunity if they needed to speak to us directly about anything that was affecting them. So I wanted to say that please bear it in mind. We will happily have a little call with you if you've got anything that we can help with or anything that's resonated so far.
Okay.
But yeah, wonderful products.
So once you get the baseline, that's the foundation. And our formulator, Dr. Rouse, has said, if you're wondering if you're taking 1 million supplements, all you really need to take, in his opinion, is longevity. So that's your foundation. Then we came up with something that on top of that, for people who have chronic pain, or even they fell and sprained their ankle like I did,
Yeah.
and discovered the beauty of this. We have a new product. It's brand new. It's called Relieve AU, and this is a non-narcotic pain reliever for the people who take Advil or Tylenol. This is a beautiful substitution. And then you say to me, well, my Advil's working great. Why, or ibuprofen, I don't know what it is in the UK, what we call it. But all I can say is if you look in the physician's desk reference, which is a doctor's book of drugs, that they can look up a drug for you and all the side effects, under ibuprofen, it's known to destroy cartilage. So when it was a prescription years ago, it was in the directions, don't take for more than, I believe, 3 days. There was very specific criteria on the prescription. But when the patent runs out, there's that word again, when the patent runs out in the pharmaceutical world, then those kinds of medications find their way to over the counter. And many people think just because it's over the counter, it's a benign thing.
Yeah.
It's not the case. It's still the same drug that was destroying cartilage before. It was only meant for short term. I personally know that many people, athletes, take it every day just in case. And I know if you look around, I know here in the United States, more than ever before, and I'm a nurse, so I've seen it increase. Knee replacements, hip replacements, like everyone's having them all of a sudden. So that's it. And then for people who have pain that has been so bad, it's forced them to try CBD, which is quite pricey. But if it works, who cares? But what has been found is that CBD, there's 4 pathways in the endocannabinoid system, and only about a quarter of the people are helped by CBD. So if their illness or injury isn't in that certain pathway, then they're not getting the relief or as much relief as they could have gotten. But our product will relieve it.
Absolutely. And so for me, as a holistic practitioner who generally has a lot of people with pain, it was amazing to know, because I would give them some aromatherapy oils and they do work, they do take the edge off. But as you quite rightly said, there's the chronic pain, and it's a totally different ballgame. It isn't just the niggle or the, every so often. It's usually quite constant, isn't it? And I just wanted to go back to what you were saying about ibuprofen before we talk a little bit more about the pain relief. I have a client who, when I do reflexology with someone consistently, like a weekly basis, obviously we can track changes quite quickly. And I hate to say this, he doesn't often lie. It's very, very clear. It's very specific as reflexology, because it's finding blockages in organs and in bodily systems. So I was really concerned, because all of a sudden, after years of doing this client, I'm like, kidneys, what is going on here? And she took it on board and she did go for a kidney test, and it was ibuprofen. Ibuprofen was causing her kidneys to not to work, basically. And the advice, bless them, was stay off it for 2 weeks. What?
It's so sad. And I don't knock traditional practitioners. They weren't trained. They don't, and they have nothing else to offer.
Yeah, there's no toolkit, is there?
There is none. We are so lucky with all the things that we have available to us. But they don't have it. And here in the United States, I know you have National Health Service. Here we have private health insurances of many kinds, and
Yeah.
people tend to say, if it's not paid by my insurance, then I'm not going to try it, or it must not be good if it's not paid for by my insurance. But let's roll back to what I said it earlier. If it's not patentable because it's natural,
Yeah.
it's not going to be offered by insurance or
No.
physicians. And it's a shame. But when you work in a practice like yours and you're enlightened and you have an enlightened clientele, so they're more open to that. And sometimes we find here in the similar practices of yours that energy medicine is enough for many people, but some people it's not at the beginning until they overcome some things, some blocks.
Absolutely. And it all depends on the unique individual, which is what we go with. And that is
Right.
so true. So I also do attract a clientele who have sciatic nerve problems, and especially with this home working, I've seen that go through the roof because we're sat. Some of the people were coming from a lovely, nice office with a desk and all the facilities, and they're not. They're at the kitchen table, certainly in the first lockdown, with a seat that's not quite right and all the other things. So I saw a huge rise up of sciatic nerve pain and damage. And we tested, because I got a couple of the products to try when we could just test them. And that has really helped to the point where the client in question is asking me now, when is it coming back? When is your next delivery coming? And it's tomorrow.
Yes, we had to put a rush on it.
We did. We had a little bit of a blip with all the Brexit, I guess, didn't have, and COVID together combined didn't help my shipment. So we've got that coming, and that should be here tomorrow. And do you know, I've got 10 people already who absolutely need this product, and I know that that's just the start. Those are just the really close clients and friends of mine who I know will just say, yeah, I really need to try that. Whereas, we haven't even marketed or even, gone any further with this so far. So
No, but people are finding us, right? And they know to
yeah.
come.
And this is the thing, when you talk genuinely, and as you know, I was absolutely not interested until I tried it. And if you're coming from that space and not about the money or any other side of it, the ego side or the pharma side, then it's genuine, right? It's coming from a place of doing good and no harm.
No harm, especially, right? And when you said that to me, I have to try it, all of that, I was laughing because I did the same. And because we take such good care of ourselves, I didn't expect to notice anything myself, but right. I did. And then the pain one was crazy. You know the story. You want me to tell the story of my ankle?
I do. Just a minute, darling.
So the day it arrived to my home, I had put it down, and I had some of my own coaching clients that I was going to call. And I was on Zoom after Zoom doing consults, and my legs were crossed, which is not good. And I had done 2 or 3 in a row. I don't know how long I was sitting in that position, and my legs were crossed. Then somebody rang my doorbell. I jumped up, and my leg fell asleep. I twisted my ankle and fell over. It was very graceful. My ankle, I saw stars.
Horrible, isn't it?
And I didn't think I was going to be able to walk. I was so afraid, and it hurt. So I took immediately, it just literally come that day. I didn't know if I was ever going to have an opportunity to try it. I certainly didn't expect it would be that quick. So I took 2, and in about 20 minutes, it felt a lot better, but it still was there. I waited a bit, like you would with Tylenol or Advil, and I took two more, and then I forgot all about it. I started walking around, and all of a sudden, I was shocked.
Amazing.
And I was completely sold myself then. But there's some other really good things. I have clients who get tremendous relief from CBD and they love it, but they work in jobs where they get frequently drug tested and they can't flunk it,
No,
or
it's
they
a
will
risk,
lose their
isn't it?
job.
Mm-hmm.
So many of them stopped using it because they were afraid to lose their job and they go to work suffering. And so now they're so happy to have this product. And then the last point that's so near and dear to my heart is addictions. Because people with chronic pain go to pain clinics because you can't function in life if you're in pain. It's just so hard to enjoy your life. And they get hooked on the prescription painkillers. It's not their fault, it's all that they've been offered. And this is non addicting. Even a child can take it.
Yeah, which is a massive bonus with such amazing results, because usually the more natural products don't particularly cut it. So this has got the double absolute whammy. And, you know, the person in question who, and I'm not naming any names for client confidentiality, is not somebody who would say that to me at all. They absolutely would have told me 100% that was a load of rubbish. That did not work for me. And the fact that they are asking me daily, is it in yet? And I was laughing with Liz because I had a couple left and I had to give them, you know, because it's just one of those. It genuinely works, and we're so pleased to have that, aren't we? It's amazing.
I still can't believe it. And I feel so
No.
honored to be able to share it with the people who are open to hearing about it.
Totally. I totally agree. And, you know, this is the start of the journey. It's only just begun. So this is a product that launched between me and being interested. And I know there's a lot more to come. So I'm so excited for 2021 also.
I am. I know that we're going to both be helping many, many people, and that's the servant heart, and that's what we
It
want to
is.
do.
Absolutely. And again, this group is finding balance and wellness in your life. And that is what we want. That is what we can deliver with a bit more of a pain relief or a bit of a boost in your wellness, a cleaner liver. It's the foundations, isn't it? That's the thing that I've always really looked for in any of my treatments, and you'll be the same. It's the root cause, it's the foundations, it's the building blocks. The rest of it is fine, you know, the cosmetic side or the add-ons, great, but it's getting it at the root cause and cellular level, which has always been a great incentive for me. It has to come from there.
And that's true. And then one of my guests on my podcast said to me, it resonated, that self-care is the real health care.
Yeah,
And then when people say, oh, it's so expensive, this or that, it could be $5, but in their mind, especially in my country when they're used to the insurance paying for the chemicals. But I say, well, you can either pay for your wellness now or your illness later, but we're going to pay.
Absolutely, and it's a mindset shift, isn't it? And we did it thankfully a while ago, so we're on board with this. And if we can help anybody see past those things, then we will do, because in the NHS is the same as you can imagine, because you can get a prescription, and if you've on a certain amount of money, you can get that prescription for free. If it's £9 a prescription and they prescribe you 4 amounts of drugs, then you're willing to try other things. But when you get that prescription for free, it's really hard to say, actually, I want to have something that supports my wellness and well-being from the cellular level, not just put a band-aid or a mask over it. And, I see that, I feel that when I'm doing clients, I feel that when they're really working on that cellular level and the energetic level, it's totally different, as you say.
And it's lasting. It's not a band-aid approach.
It's a lifestyle shift.
Yes, it is. And then you feel well enough to do what your destiny is, which is awesome.
It's so true. And that clarity comes also, doesn't it, as well? It's like when you've got that open book and you feel like the energy's flowing and everything's flowing in balance, as we're talking about. It's just such a nice place, and you forget. The problem is when you've been out of that for a while, you forget what it's like.
And then it's like, oh yeah,
it's becoming whole again, isn't it? Like a missing part was put back in. So that's been absolutely lovely. I've really enjoyed talking to you.
Me
Is there
too.
anything else you'd like to say before we close?
Yes, just I want to reiterate what you said earlier. I love working in tandem with you. And if anyone would like to, I'm a registered nurse. I have a master's in holistic nutrition. We all know the skill set that Sharon has. So together we have the complete view of the body. If you're struggling with something or you want to just talk to us, it doesn't cost anything. Just let Sharon know, and Sharon will schedule a time and we can do a Zoom, and we can just talk. If it feels right for you or not, let's just talk.
Yeah, that would. Thank you so much for adding that yet again, because that is so important. We want to help. That's our calling.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. That's our purpose and our calling right
We're
now.
going to heal the world one person at a time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is such a pleasure meeting someone who thinks on the same wavelength.
I feel the same way.
Even though you're over the pond.
Well, someday when they let us travel again, I'm coming.
Quite right.
Okay.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you to all your